Hello and welcome. Namaste. I am truly excited to be here with one of my most beloved teachers, Shamali Adar from the Awakening Women's Institute. Hello, Shamali.
Hi, Michelle. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So me and Shamali are going to have a little bit of a chat, but I wanted to share how I met Shamali and what this has meant to myself as a woman and also to my life. Back in 2013, I was browsing the internet for a pretty little photo of a woman with roses, and I found one and I clicked on it, and it took me to the Awakening Women's Institute website. And there, everything started to unfold. It was just like the blossoming of the roses in the picture. And I was like a kid in a candy store, just looking at all these online sadhanas on the goddesses. And I'm like, ah! And soon I signed up to one of them. And of course, it was Durga Ma, my beloved goddess. And I know Shamali's too. So within 6 months of taking this online sadhana, I signed up for an in-person retreat in Germany. And I was petrified traveling to Germany, not knowing any women, staying at someone's house that another sister had arranged. And I didn't realize how potent that weekend was going to be for me, because the online sadhanas, you're teaching Shamali, you're just done a video on Vak Shakti, your sacred speech literally was seducing me deeper and deeper into my body and embodiment. That when I arrived in Germany and began the retreat, Durga, I was embracing her essence of devotion and truth and commitment. But in that one weekend, I made the decision to leave London and move my life to Barbados to be with my beloved, which is where I am now. And that was 5 years ago. And within the 3 months of making that decision and taking my seat within the eternal circle of women, and that's what the Awakening Women's Institute really means to me, is not only did I move, I got married, I sold my house, I sold my business, I literally gave it all up and 108% committed to my life, took the 2 feet off the fence and boom, Shakti, I'm in there. And so that's why I'm delighted to be with you, talk about Maya Shakti, because I was living an illusion. I don't know what it is now, but yes, this is the hidden goddess to me. This is Maya Shakti, and for everyone watching, Awakenings Women's Institute holds online courses, weekend retreats, ashrams, and the online portals for me truly empower women across the globe when you wouldn't meet women necessarily in person. And to take that seat within the eternal circle of women and be taught practices that are for women instead of what a man is saying from the scriptures, and to be taught by someone so beautiful as Shamali. This is a treasure, a gem. You didn't know my story, did you?
It's so beautiful. It's so, you know what? Your story is such a beautiful example of Maya sadhana, Maya practice. many of you have heard about Maya as the illusion, and in many maps, she's an illusion that we have to get rid of in order to see clearly and be free. But of course, anything we try to get rid of creates that fragmentation. It creates that split in an otherwise unsplittable totality. So a lot of the suffering we experience is actually a result of the split, not so much of that which we try to push away. Like you mentioned, Maya is hidden, and in the goddess map, in the tantric map, she is not something to get rid of. Illusion is just one of her qualities. And actually, when we cultivate our capacity to play along with her and accept that aspect of reality that hides, for example, one example of that is just physical form. Physical form hides the energetic vibrational form, but it doesn't mean that the physical form is wrong. It's just that it can create suffering if we identify completely with the physical form, forgetting the greater spectrum of its reality. So when you are experiencing a certain kind of hesitation or waiting in your partnership, you're just kind of like, okay, waiting to see how we're gonna, how am I going to meet this relationship? What's my next step? All of that is energy that was present, yeah, but it was having a certain form that was maybe not so clear. And then that kind of yogic alchemy happens when you step into it and you dare to kind of, I don't know where this is going to end, but I'm going to commit to direct that energy in a certain way. Like for you, it was to move to Barbados, to get married, to leave London. All of that energy was released into another reality. Yeah? But it was the same energy present in the more fog. I don't know what it was for you before, but it wasn't, it was a radical shift when everything became clear. Yeah. And you could bring with you that creative energy to create a whole, which has kept on creating since then. Yeah, your work, everything is just it's just blossoming, even through the obstacles, even through everything you need to learn on that path in order for your work to have such a depth that it has now. You see that all the obstacles, all of those things that we wish would not be there, is actually Maya Shakti. It is the gift that then become our awakening, our connection, our wholeness.
Absolutely. It's that sometimes it's going into those portals of the fears, those obstacles that are real dark. That's where they're hidden. You've got to go into that hiding cave where you can't see. Yeah. And then she becomes the liberator. I think you say that that's what she is. And I sense that because, it hasn't been all paradise in the tropics when you first move here. When you're rebuilding a life and starting over, it's not all blissful. It is in my relationship, thank the goddess. But
what a gift.
It's the other things that they're hidden, because what's coming up as you're talking to me is very much what I practice and what I teach is with yoni, and the yoni's hidden, whereas the lingam is out there. And it's how have you thought about that in the sense of Maya and the yoni and how we're feeling in our pelvis and how she moves?
Maya, we find her really at the origin. We find her at the very, very deep layers of existence. In the tantric yoga map, the source is the yoni, the source of creation. Everything is created out of yoni. And before yoni, there is some impulse, as we call Shiva Shakti, or there are elaborate maps of how energy becomes manifest. And Maya is the way energy creates itself. So for us as women, we have a direct we have a direct portal to experiencing creation in a very unique way, where we can actually vibrationally experience it, because we have yoni. Yeah, we have a physical manifestation of the creative source. It's huge. It's huge. We take it for granted, but we actually have in our body, in flesh, we have, we can touch and feel it and sense it, the source of the universe, the source of everything. And then, of course, also in our relationship to yoni, we will also have layers of projections and stories and fears and contractions and trauma and tension, of desire, yearning, all of these layers. And that's where we are entering Maya land, where we become awake to see that we have an experience, and then we have a layer on top of that experience. And that layer is sometimes we oftentimes overlook. We put them together and we think this is reality. So, for example, in our intimacy, if we bring with us some trauma, or some tension, some even some abuse, or like less than love experiences, even if we meet a good partner, it is as if that story about, oh, men are like that, or it's dangerous to be intimate, or I cannot, if I open they're going to leave, or all of these stories that we have on top come into the intimacy. And we forget that here's a good partner. And yes, these fears and all of that can be here, but if we believe the layers we put on top and project it on here, that's where we create all of the relationship dramas that most of us know very well. So it is it's very practical and rewarding to become awake to these layers we put on top, because actually here is where we have the power to heal and transform. If we put it over there, we think that the world has to change in order for us to be free. Yeah, and that is a terribly disempowered place to be.
That is for me, because I remember you were on another sadhana call that we had. You were with Lisa from Awakening Shakti, and I wrote in a question, but you didn't know it was me, but you sensed that it was me. And one of my questions was about intimacy, where I view intimacy as into me, I see, so that we're unraveling those veils.
Yeah.
And the question I had for you was, I'm trying to undo the doing, and how do I experience a full body orgasm? And this, AKA a Kundalini awakening. And I remember your beautiful metaphor of missing the train, which we all are.
Yes.
But I think, again, within that teaching, I remember having this most amazing Kundalini full body orgasm in a room of 40 people by myself. That's all I was doing. And it's because my husband has done exactly what you've described. Is I had relationships that were less than, and that were abusive or non-committal. And here I've got a man who I committed to, and he's utterly committed to me. And he has began to rewrite the story and heal my yoni.
Yeah.
And that is what I think that many women, they long for, to experience that deep, profound healing within a relationship of profound trust.
Yeah.
So
and again, I just want to say something to that, if I may. It is so easy to think that in order to live that, we have to find the perfect partner, or the partner has to become perfect. Then we're going to be free. Then we're going to be happy. Then we're going to give our love fully. Then we're going to trust and open. I just want to share with you a story that happened before I met my husband, because it illustrates, similar to you, that there are shifts in ourselves that are in our power to make. Before that can manifest. We don't have to wait for that to manifest for us. I remember that I had my entire life associated relationship with drama, with pain, with conflict. My family home was like that. All my relationship was very dramatic, very volatile, very complicated.
Mm.
And in the brain, we have something called NIAS. I think it is a filter that likes to look for what we recognize. So, right now we are seeing so many colors, and the brain benevolently filters out what we don't need. And the way it does that is that it looks for what's familiar, so it can kind of categorize it, which is a good quality of the brain. But when it comes to relationship, what happens is that if that is the story, the filter we carry around, we will ignore anything that doesn't fit that. So in my case, I was looking for trouble. That was what I was looking for in a man. That was what I was attracted to. And in my perception, and in my story, it can seem like, oh, that's the only men there are. But it was who my brain picked up. So right before I met my husband now, who was very much not my type, he was very different, was that I remember I did a meditation where I visualized, where I really, for the first time, can envision simple, uncomplicated, no games, no holding back, love. And I had that visualization, and that imprinted in my brain something new. For the first time, I could even imagine it. Of course, I could see it in films and everything, but that was somehow a distance between me and that. This is different than the fantasy. I could actually, my brain could recognize it. So when I met my husband, I could see him. If I had met him just a few months before, we would have passed each other like ships in the night. Because I was looking for trouble. I wouldn't even have seen him, literally, physically. Yeah. That's how it works. Now, here's the trick of the story. The visualization I did was a meditation called the Beloved Meditation. And it was created by Arjuna, my husband. So I did that. He had made that many years before, but in one way he had made that so that I could do that meditation many years later, and so that we can meet. And that is, again, this, the magical layers.
Synchronicities, isn't it? Sometimes of just that this is the way she unfurls.
Yes.
This is the beauty and the blossoming of creation. Oh, how wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So this is for me exactly what happens when twice a year, from my remote island on the tropics, where I'm slowly building up a circle, and I have red tents and full moon circles now, which are wonderful. It's taken 5 years. It takes time.
And commitment, yeah. Without the commitment, you would have just given up. You would have lost the thread.
I did give up.
Yeah,
I did give up, but I didn't give up fully. I went into my little cave. I did. I felt like I was hiding, but I needed that time to process my own stuff. I can't be a teacher. I can't be all the time. I need mine, and that's what signing. I have you, and I have another teacher that does very much yoga, priestess work, but I love twice a year stepping into the circle and just being with this circle of women and allowing and magnetizing and receiving. Receiving has been a massive Shakti key for me, because I was always doing, always giving. And the question that I had for you, Shamali, and I really want to get it in before we maybe do a practice, is Maya Leela. Because we've got Maya Shakti, as in the yogic, the illusion that separates us. But then we also have the divine play of Leela. And how is Maya in the Leela?
I think that is. One of the ways that we can begin to expand our consciousness, to understand that she's not a mistake. Leela, means divine play, and to see that how formlessness takes form as bodies, as trees, as oceans, as mountains. It's all the play of creation. I remember I was in India just this winter, and I went to a yogini temple where Maya Shakti was in the center, and then it was 64 yoginis, 64 goddesses around her. And it shows that she takes so many different forms. Some of them were delightful, some was fierce, some were closed, some was very open. And all of this is the forms she takes. And for us as practitioners, how that implements and how that transforms and awakens us is that we begin to align with a more greater tolerance, more creativity, and more curiosity to our own lives. Instead of those filters that says it should be like that, it shouldn't be like that, and we create our own battle, we create our own nightmare out of these stories we put on top of it. It's actually it's challenging in a radical path, this tantric goddess path, because we are pulled into such a deep acceptance of her many colors, many flavors. And one example of that is, of course, death itself, or aging, or death, and all of these aspects of reality that our culture is so fixed on pushing away. And it creates, again, the aging and death creates less suffering than our habit of splitting and uprooting ourselves from reality, because it is. Yeah, it is. And that is sometimes Maya Shakti, she appears as fierce goddess, as an ugly goddess. And many will just stop and turn away from her right there. Oh, she's ugly. But that shows us how we get trapped in Maya Shakti. That's how we get trapped in the illusionary surface. Practicing with a fierce goddess, many of us here have experienced, wow, there's benefits. There's actually love and sweetness underneath her disguise, her skin, her appearance. And that's exactly how life is. That's exactly how the most unwanted feeling is. It is an appearance that you can either begin to hook into and bicker and push away and get into this impasse, or you can go through and discover the luminous reality underneath it all.
Yes, because exactly. I mean, my Ishta Devata is Kalima, and guiding me for the last year is Matangi. So, and Tara has been from the Mahavijayas. Tara has been holding me in a liminal space, and she's very intimately connected with Kali, but she's just this more pregnant with potential form. And I think this is it, that we need a rebirth sometimes. We need to go into that fierceness, the Lakshmis, the beauty, even the Lalita, it's sometimes we need fierce. We need ferocious. And for me in the yoga world, and I'm sharing this with a lot of yoginis who practice downward facing dog, Ashtanga and everything, is the fierceness is not so shanty. Is not so, I've been called I'm not yogic because I use my voice, and I'm like, do you know, Kali? I just have to smile. I try to be shanty, but sorry. So should we go into a practice, Shamali? Do you want to take a little minute practice to close, because we always enter a practice?
Oh, beautiful.
Quite nice, I think, to end rather than talking.
All right. Beautiful. All right. So you can do this practice with your eyes open or your eyes closed. This is just one way for us to create some kind of center, or some kind of deeper connection when life is swirling and taking so many different forms that we don't even know what is reality anymore. So just begin by bringing your awareness down in the body. You can wiggle the body a little bit, stretch, just feeling how presence is trickling downwards. And there's no need to push anything, force anything. Just allowing presence to drop deeper down. And maybe you can even feel that chest and the belly relax as the breath and the presence arrives down into the pelvis. And if you feel an edge further off than the pelvis, just stay at where your edge is. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just have patience. And if you like, you can bring your hands below the navel just to support you, to bring presence down in the pelvis. Beautiful. And from this place, tuning into the seat underneath your body, just feeling the support. There's a goddess called Adhari Shakti. She's the goddess of support. She's that quality of support that you can feel in the chair right now, that you can feel in the breath. She takes many forms. And then bring your awareness through the chair, through the floor. Maybe it's many floors for you. Down into earth underneath your body. Just let your presence sink, flow down inside into a point in the earth, 1 meter, a few feet inside earth. And from here, you can imagine that your breath begins in earth and then you breathe up into your body, the qualities of earth. And then the exhale, just let go. Awareness sink through the body, through the chair, through the floors, into earth. And then breathing up and in again. Continue like this in your own tempo, just for a few more breaths. Relaxing the face, the jaws. Each in-breath, breathing in the qualities of the earth. This is your big body. Always here with support. Adhara Shakti. Beautiful. And then see if you can, when you begin to open your eyes, just stay resting in this connection. Roots spreading deep. Also, when you begin to take in the colors and the forms of this moment.
I'm going to finish because I feel a call. Bringing that energy from the yoni, from the earth, to the heart, to the breast, the left hand to the center of the chest, and the right hand on top, the left the feminine, the right the masculine, into Sva Bhava Mudra. Sva, the highest aspect of ourselves. Bhava, just feeling our breasts full like the moon that is coming. Rising into our hands, nurturing us to feel our fullness. Honoring ourselves at the highest aspect. We bow. Namaste. Thank you, Shamali.
Namaste.
So lovely to be with you.
Thank you.
Little circle and bringing all the women in. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you.